Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here today and talk about a topic that's very personal to me, and that is personal branding. So my name is Allie Bloyd, and I am a local business and local marketing expert. So over the years, I've branded myself as the go-to person in the marketing space for local businesses and for agencies or marketers who are also working with local businesses. So the question is, how did that happen? How did that come about? Was that intentional? Was that something that I was consciously working towards? And if so, how did I ultimately achieve that goal? As I'm now known industry-wide and even worldwide as this local marketing expert. So this really starts probably about 10 years ago, if not more. So when I was going to college, I originally was a nursing major, and I loved anatomy and physiology and all of the concepts in the health field. But I quickly realized that I was not going to be happy working in a hospital type of environment. So I really had to just kind of put my thinking cap on and decide, what is it that you really want to do with your life? What would you like to change your major to? Obviously, college is expensive, and I wanted to make sure that whatever I ultimately did switch to was going to be something that I really wanted to work with. So I have always been a writer, and from the time I was very young, I was coming up with catchy slogans and little advertising jingles, writing songs, coming up with funny names for products. And ultimately, that's just kind of been a part of who I am. So when I was about 19 years old at the time, I was really just trying to figure out, what are my natural talents and how can I utilize them best in my future career. So I had an idea for a dog clothing company, which I promise you I will still launch this company one day. But this idea for a dog clothing brand ultimately led me to getting involved with some different graphic design programs to try and create these designs for the dog clothing. I had never done anything like that before, so it was brand new to me, but I found very quickly that I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was a way for me to take my love of words and tie it with visual images and graphics to really illustrate a strong point. So I switched my major to graphic design and marketing, and that's ultimately what led me further into the marketing field. At this point, I was confident that marketing is what I wanted to do, but I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to do it just yet. In reality, I thought that I was probably going to go into more of the branding space, become a graphic design firm that focused on branding packages, website design, creating entire campaigns. And while ultimately that is a lot of what I do today, branding is not the focus. However, it was very, very interesting to me. Developing a brand is something that isn't just a visual, it is emotional. You want your business to resonate with someone on a personal, emotional level. And I always assumed that I would ultimately build a personal brand. I remember back when I was in school for graphic design, and we did a project, and it was on a 2-page magazine layout spread. We had to create this spread and present it. Mine was literally a feature in Forbes about me, talking about how I'd created this marketing and design empire. And it's, it makes me chuckle to think about now, because just recently I was featured in Forbes, and I have been able to be featured on some of the world's largest and most well-known marketing platforms. And it's something that I always wanted and hoped for, even back then, 10, 11 years ago. So it's really just great to see that I actually took something that I wanted to do and I've made it happen, but it was a very concerted effort. So once I really dove into the design, web design, marketing, branding space, I just fell in love with it. And from there, ultimately, I started working at a publishing company that focused on trade magazines for local businesses. So this was really my first experience helping local businesses specifically. And so this company wanted to launch a brand new magazine. So this brand new magazine was really kind of given to me as a project, let's see if you can do this. I was ultimately doing just about everything for that business, but mainly that publication. So I was doing the layout of the magazine, all of the writing, the interviews, the ad design, the ad copy. I was doing the marketing and the ad sales. I literally was doing everything, but it was amazing because I was actually given the opportunity to develop a new brand from scratch. That was so exciting to me because it really showed me that something doesn't have to exist and you can still brand it. I was selling advertising in a magazine that hadn't even printed its first issue yet. So it really was more of just an idea or a concept at that point. We obviously had every intention of printing it, but when I was selling it, there was nothing that actually existed. So what I found was I can create this concept and I can brand it in a way that sells itself before there is a physical product or really service that someone can visualize. So while I was going through that process and I was doing ad sales, I was focused on LinkedIn very heavily. And I really attached myself and my name to this magazine and this business. I really, even at that time, wanted to focus on having this personal brand because I've always known people buy from people they know, like, and trust. What better way to get people to know, like, and trust you than through building a personal brand with a real human being attached to it? So that was really amazing. We launched with a bang. I was able to sell a ton of advertising in this magazine, and it really became a passion project for me. Ultimately, it was no longer the right fit for me career-wise, so I ended up leaving and then took my next steps in my career and became the marketing director for a large local business. At that time, the company was in the process of completely rebranding. It was actually a very new company, but the previous branding they had, they no longer wanted to use that. So again, I was in charge of rebranding everything, the logo design, all of the different visual elements that were going to be paired with it, what were the colors and the fonts and the styles that would be used. I redesigned the website, did all of the social media presence, the content, you name it, I did it. So that was, again, just one more great experience with branding a larger company. So that company was not necessarily a personal brand for me, and the owner didn't want it to be a personal brand for him, but we were still able to brand it from the standpoint of the community experts. So after that position, I got another job as a marketing director for another large local business. So this business ultimately sold high dollar products and services, yet their branding was not really indicative of what they wanted to be portraying. So once again, one of my very first tasks was ultimately rebranding this entire business. New website design, social media, content. The logo stayed the same, but all of the visual elements along with it, they changed. So everything that we did in that business was essentially shifted to have this new persona and this new feel. However, I took it a step further and I, again, allowed myself to become ultimately a part of the personal branding of that business. I realized very early on that video was 100% the best way to share your story, share your message, and brand yourself in the way that you want to be branded. So I did a lot of video for that company. I was their marketing director, so it was a natural fit, but I was in a ton of videos. I educated people and the audience on this business and what they needed to understand about this business in order to move forward. Because of that, I would actually have people in my local community stop me and say that they recognized me from my videos. So this wasn't my business. I didn't own that business, but I was still able to create a personal brand where people did have an association with a person, with a face, with of voice so that they could feel closer to this company. They could feel like it's not a big box store, like it's not some nameless, faceless corporate entity. And that's really what we wanted to create. This is a local business. You want people to realize that it's run by people in the community just like them, and that by supporting this business, they're supporting their neighbors. When I started my marketing agency and ultimately transitioned that company from my employer to one of my very first clients, I also, it's no guess at this point probably, knew that I wanted to create a personal brand. So I had a ton of experience at this point branding, attaching myself to these brands and creating something that was very personal. And now I finally have the opportunity to do it for myself. So I started like most people start, trying to come up with the name of the business, the logo, and all of those essential branding elements. So ultimately, because I am a graphic designer, I can create a lot of graphic content fairly quickly and easily. So to this day, I encourage people not to spend too much time on their logo when they get started, because ultimately you don't need a logo in order to create a personal brand. However, I do feel that it's a very strong part of the brand recognition. So it will become more important moving forward, but at the same time, you need to establish yourself as a person before it's critical that you establish that logo. So most people, that's where they spend most of their time. And if they get hung up there, then they do not move forward, which is terrible. But that's where I started. I was able to create a lot of great logos, a lot of cool, catchy names that I really liked, and tried to decide, what is my business going to be called? What is this brand going to look like? For me, I knew that I did not want to change my branding after I got started. So I wanted to make sure that this was something that I could utilize long term. So I was very close to choosing the name of an agency that was not related to my name. That was ultimately what I had decided. And then I was listening to an interview with someone in the marketing space, and they said, you know, if I could go back and do it all over again, one of the main things that I would do differently would be that I would use my name as my business name, because ultimately that's what people are buying into anyways. So when they hear me on podcast interviews, see me on video interviews, read about me in the press, they're always going to see my name, but they may not remember my business name. So people are naturally going to associate you with your business regardless. And so she just said it would have been a much more seamless process had I just chosen my name as my business name. In that moment, I decided Allie Bloyd Media, that's what I'm going to use. And I just made the decision to move forward. I decided on the logo I liked, and the rest was history from the visual branding aspect. So now the question was, how did I want to be perceived? I have always been very heavy into the educational side of marketing. From that very first magazine that I launched, everything was about content marketing. It was about educating the audience to get them to consume the content, which ultimately allows them to consume the advertising. If they can consume the advertising, they've got a much better chance of it actually working for the advertiser. So that had already been really well ingrained in me. So I knew that I really wanted to make education and becoming a thought leader a big part of my brand. And this is ultimately something that I would suggest for anyone. It doesn't matter if you are a local business who doesn't necessarily want to be that person and that face to the business. It doesn't have to be you, but you do 100% need to establish trust and credibility. One of the best ways to do that is obviously through educational content. You're able to show the audience what it is they don't know, or what you do know, what makes you different from the competition. To take it a step further, if you can actually create new ideas and new strategies for your industry that hasn't necessarily been talked about before, or maybe you present it in a different way, or you add on to something in order to make it more effective. Those are things that will really allow you to stand out. That can be your unique selling proposition. Whereas if you don't have some of these critical elements of a personal brand, in the consumer's eyes, it's going to come down to which business costs more, or which one did I see their advertising most recently. I mean, it's things that you don't want it to come down to. You want people to want to work with your business. You want them to consciously make the decision to call you, to contact you, to schedule a call with you. And so creating that educational content, to me, is one of the most critical components of doing that. Making yourself stand out, but also it's a huge part of the AB3 ad strategy that I teach. So it plays a lot of different roles, but it's something I'd encourage all of you to really get clear on. What is it that your audience needs to know? What is it that you know that maybe your competitors don't know that you can share with your audience? How can you really help them every step of the way as they're going through the process of learning about what you do and making that ultimate buying decision? So let's kind of recap what I've talked about so far. You do need to focus on a name and logo, colors and fonts, mainly because I believe that consistency is important. So you don't want to be switching things a lot. That'll make it really hard for someone to recognize your brand. However, don't spend too much of your time getting caught up there. Try and create a name or a slogan that allows for quicker recognition, but it does not have to be your name. You do want to just create this seamless integration between what it is that you're presenting, the visuals of how you're presenting it, and what the content is that you're ultimately serving. That needs to be educational, valuable, and helpful to allow you to really stand out from the competition. This relates to local businesses, but obviously it relates to national and global businesses. This is what I did for the local businesses that I worked with, and it's exactly the same thing that I've done for myself, but on a larger global scale. The next thing is really to allow others to tell your story. And PR is a great way to let this happen. So one thing that I've really enjoyed doing to grow my own business is speaking on podcasts and different marketing conferences and events. This ties directly into the educational content aspect. If I didn't have great content to present to the world, and if I wasn't very comfortable presenting that content because I know it front to back, start to finish, people wouldn't want me as a guest on their podcast. They wouldn't ask me to speak on stage. They wouldn't ask me to do online summits. So it's not only having that educational content, but being very comfortable with presenting it and actually reaching out to try and secure some of these PR training, teaching, speaking opportunities. This will not only do wonders for your credibility, but it will expose you to a brand new audience and present you in a different light. It's going to come off as educational and helpful as opposed to promotional and salesy. And while there's absolutely a time and place to be promotional and salesy, so to speak, it's great when you can do it through the process of educating, because the dynamic is so much different at that point. People see you as this helpful, credible resource, not as someone who's just trying to make a sale. So they really take to heart what you're saying much more significantly. I also think that it's very important to be able to show people why you're qualified to do what you do, and really what are the credentials that you have to back that up. So that doesn't mean you have to have a college degree. I honestly believe that I never need a degree to do what I do today. However, my education really was valuable to me because it was tied directly to what I am doing. But I made a very specific point to build up a list of credentials that would not only showcase that I took my personal growth for my business very seriously, because the more I can grow, the more I'm learning and retaining so that I can help more people do things in the best possible way. But also that people out there would know that, hey, I'm actually qualified to teach and to do what it is I'm talking about. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen, whether it's in an online business or a local business, people start businesses that have zero experience in the industry. They, in reality, have no real qualification to be teaching or doing what it is they're doing. And that's not to say that someone can't start a business like that and develop the skills and become really successful. They can. But if you're someone who's been around and has worked really hard to establish industry knowledge and expertise, and you feel as though your experience does put you light years ahead of the competition, that's something you need to be able to showcase in a way that's not just saying, hey, we're smarter and better than the competition. So I did 5 different certifications. I've gone through multiple coaching and training programs. I've ultimately created my own systems that are branded to me for what I'm teaching. I also applied for the awards that I was able to qualify for so that I could have verifiable evidence of my success. It's very easy for people to say they can do something or say that they're great at something, but people are becoming a little bit numb to that. They want to see proof. They want to see evidence. And so when I got my ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club award, that was a way for me to show my audience, hey, I've already been telling you guys that this is what I can do, that these are the results I can produce. But now a third party completely independent from me has verified that we produced over $1 million in revenue through a single online sales funnel. This was tracked through sales data. This was confirmed. And now you know that I don't just talk the talk, I actually walk the walk. I also wanted to get connected with industry and niche specific organizations that I could work with as an educational resource. So at this point, I have done multiple events, trainings for 2 of the top marketing companies in the world, Digital Marketer and Social Media Examiner. Ultimately, at this point, they are great partners with me. I'm always asked to do different trainings, speaking events, and they know that I'm going to be ready to jump at any opportunity they present to me, and that I'm going to do a great job and deliver amazing content for their audience. So they know, as a business that relies on contributors and experts and influencers, they know that they can count on me. They have someone they can call on whenever they need to talk about local marketing or local agency related content. So building those industry relationships has been amazing, but I've also spoken for NARI, which is a remodeling industry specific organization. And that's a big niche on the agency side for me. So most of what I do at this point is coaching and training with local business owners and local marketers, but I still do run an agency, and remodelers has always been a big part of what we focus on because I have a ton of experience in that space. So getting connected with those more specific industry organizations allows me to showcase another level of credibility to that specific audience. Those are things that they really care about. The next thing on that same topic is to really try and get testimonials from those same types of people. So if I'm promoting myself to remodelers, I want to get remodelers to do video testimonials for me. If I am promoting myself to local business owners, I want those local business owner students to do those video testimonials. If I'm promoting myself to local marketers and local agency owners, I want those people to do video testimonials. And then also those referral partnerships and those industry relationships, I ask if they'll do a video testimonial for me, or they'll simply do one on their own. When I interviewed Alex Charfen about 2 months ago, maybe a little bit more, he did an amazing video testimonial for me without me even asking, talking about what a visionary entrepreneur I was, how I was out there changing the world for local businesses. And he put it out there to all of his followers. And that was something so incredibly valuable to me, not because, you know, I value his opinion so much on its own, but the fact that he was so taken aback by my industry knowledge and expertise that he felt compelled to create this video testimonial on his own and push it out to all of his followers. Now I have something that I can use over and over again. People who know who Alex Charfen is and who have that level of respect and credibility for him, they'll now also have that for me because I've been able to provide something that says, hey, top people in the industry, they really love what I'm doing. Molly Pittman is another one. She is a friend and she's an amazing mentor. And she did a video testimonial for me that really resonates with marketers because they know who she is. They know that she would not be sending out a video testimonial for someone that didn't have the ability to back up what they were saying. She's putting her name on the line for me. And so if you can do that in your business and get your connections and your audience and your customers to do the selling for you, especially in those key groups, to those key avatars that you have, you are going to go a long way. The next thing that I would say is to really get clear on what it is that you want to be known for. So as I said, I have worked with remodelers for a long time, interior designers, real estate, things like that, just because I have a lot of experience in that industry. Well, when I started the agency, that was definitely how I wanted to brand myself, as the home improvement marketing expert. However, what I saw was that in the marketing space, in the marketing training and education space, no one had really claimed that title of local marketing expert. That is what I was. The remodelers were just one group of people that I could help. It was a way to allow me to systemize my business a bit more by focusing on that one industry. But really, I had so much experience with all different types of local businesses at that point. I wanted to expand that and become the local marketing expert. So that was a shift that I made in my personal branding. Ultimately, remodelers are still a part of that exact same audience, local business owners. So it wasn't a complete shift, but it is something that I consciously did to make sure that people did not see me as just remodelers. They saw that I can help local marketers and local agencies, as well as all types of local business owners. What I did from there was focus all of my content on local businesses. I would have some specific trainings for those industries that I work with, but overall, the titles and the topics and the trainings that I was doing were all focused on local business. I used the word local business in just about everything because that's what I wanted people to think about when they heard my name or my business name or saw my logo. Even though I've told you that the logo isn't really the most important thing, it's not. If you do have a logo that you want to keep, put it on everything. So as you guys can see, I have my logo on my backdrop. I also have my logo right here on my pop socket. So I have it on my cornhole boards. I have it on everything. And you really just don't know who you're going to come in contact with. You don't know who's going to see something, who is going to, you know, watch a video from 2 years ago, and you want them to have every opportunity to associate you with your brand. So make sure that if you do have that logo and that branding, the colors and the fonts to me are some of the most important. So you don't necessarily have to have your logo on everything, but those colors and those fonts, those are going to be used on all of your digital assets, in all of your PDFs, all of that stuff, and you want it to be consistent. So that is my final tip that I'll give to you today, is consistency is key. As someone who actually went to school for graphic design and marketing, it bothers me so much when things are not consistent. And it is having the exact hex code for the colors that you're using. It is having those exact fonts and how they're used, such as the spacing between the letters, the line height spacing, the way that you're using bolds and italics and things like that. So you really want to be consistent from day one, have a certain style of imagery that you like to use, and use those styles. Have those core colors and those core templates, and you literally can reuse them over and over again, and it's only going to help your personal branding consistency so that people really get hammered with that over and over again, and that's ultimately what you need. I definitely feel like regardless of if you are a local business or a local marketer, it is great to get involved in your community because people in your community will remember the name of your business, especially when it's doing something great and altruistic. You could do this by live educational events. That's one of my favorite ways to help local business owners get more paying customers. And it brands them as this educational resource. It checks all the boxes in terms of what we've talked about today. But you could do a food drive. That's something that I did not long ago. You could, organize some type of industry event. You could organize some type of, big picnic or get together for your community. Whatever it is, bringing people together or helping people is always something that's going to bring positive benefits if you're doing it in the right way, such as really helping and not just making it all about you. So that's what I would say is if you have all of those things in place, really make a point to get connected in your community, get connected with other people in your industry, thought leaders, industry leaders, people you look up to, people who can cross promote your business with theirs. Some of the most amazing opportunities that I've ever got in my business have all been the result of just personal relationships, literally reaching out to people and starting conversations with them. I've had so many people ask me, how have you had so many of the top marketers and entrepreneurs on your podcast, Marketing Inc., and it's only 3 or 4 months old? And the truth is, I have developed relationships in this business that allow me to leverage them. I have people that are happy to come on my podcast anytime I'm to ask. And from there, the content and the interviews and the people that I've worked with ultimately allow me to introduce this opportunity to people that I haven't yet met. Because once you have a group of people that are known and respected that are associated with you, it makes it much easier to present that opportunity to the next person and have them know that you're ultimately going to be worth their time and that they're not going to be doing an interview with someone who, has a bad taste in people's mouth. So it really does so much for you personally, but really focus on relationships, building those relationships, and opportunities will come. And those people, they're going to know you as a person. So it's only going to further your personal brand. So I really hope you guys have found this educational and helpful. If you guys want to learn more about me, you can visit alliebloydmedia.com. I've got a lot of free resources and trainings on local marketing or local marketing agencies that you can check out. And I would love to connect with you on social. So if you have any questions about building a personal brand, either as a local business or as a marketer, agency owner, teacher, coach, please let me know. I'd love to help you out. And it's been great being here today. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.